Welcome back, everybody, to our podcast, Navigating with Confidence. And for this podcast episode, we are going to discuss about tuition business in general. And because our tuition near me platform is an edtech marketplace platform that is designed to help tuition business to thrive. So for this episode, we are going to talk about tuition business in general, the challenges that tuition business is facing nowadays, and how can tuition business grow and meet the different kinds of challenges such as AI and so on. We'll discuss more in detail. We'll explore in detail as we go on. So this will be the main the main this is how we want the episode to go, the direction that we want the episode to go.
I agree that tuition business is going to face some challenges moving forward, and there's going to be a mixture of issues that's going to impact this industry, and it's going to be a mixture of AI, real estate, and several other things that we could discuss about.
I would say that with like this AI, then you also mentioned real estate and other things. So I think that there is several challenges on hand right now that is facing the education industry. And this tuition business, actually many tuition business are not doing very well. And a lot of tuition business startup founders, right, they aren't able to find students for their business. So it's really going from bad to worse. And it is actually due to many issues like what you're saying, AI, real estate, and some other issues. So what do you think about how do you think this tuition business they can overcome? Can you talk more about these challenges?
Right, so one of the challenges that come to my mind right now is AI, that is artificial intelligence. And I don't think that artificial intelligence is going to replace teachers anytime soon because artificial intelligence it really lacks the emotion part. It doesn't have the empathy to connect to students, and that is a very important part of education. That is, you need to have teachers that have empathy so that they can encourage and motivate the students in a very organic way. And this is a very important part of education that is not easily replaced by AI anytime soon. But I think that AI is going to be integrated into education. It will become a tool for students and educators to make use of in order to enhance their learning and teaching.
But there are some that say that AI is going to replace teachers. So they say that maybe in the coming months, right, there'll be software that uses AI to teach students. So instead of having the teacher in front in the classroom, what we have is the student will face the laptop or the mobile phone and learn directly from the AI assistant, or they will learn directly from the chatbot. So what I've read is that maybe the AI will teach a certain module, then after that they can give a quiz, and the quiz can be the difficulty of the quiz can be changed and adjusted according to the students' learning needs. So I think this is going to impact the education industry in a big way, and maybe I think it's going to impact the teachers and the tutors in a big way too. It may actually cause some of the jobs to go away in the sense that I'm saying that the schools may rely more on AI instead of teachers instead, and then it will start to employ more AI and fire or employ less teachers. So what do you think about this?
I mean, this kind of thinking could be right as well, but that is not exactly how I think about it. How I think about it is, in fact, not so. I would say that this is a kind of binary thinking, as in, when something happens, right? So we assume that things is either going to be zero or one. It's going to be like you're going to retain when AI gets integrated into the education system. You're going to retain the teachers, which is zero, or you're going to fire the teachers. That is one. So it's either fire or you retain them, but I don't think it's going to be that way. How I think is that it's going to be a little bit fuzzy, and those coders and programmers, they will understand what exactly is fuzzy. So what, let me just explain how I think about it. So basically what I think is that certain aspects of the educator's work can be delegated to AI, but still the educator still has to helm most of the teaching. And students on their part, right, they can choose to have certain parts of their education through the AI chatbot. Still they have to go to school and receive a formal education with the educators as well. So I think that it's going to be a mixture. It's not going to be one or none or all. So it's going to be a mixture of both AI teaching and teachers and tutors as well.
I think a lot of teachers will be very glad to hear that because from what I've heard from a lot of the tuition teachers and teachers is that they are afraid that they will be replaced by AI. Then after that, they will be out of job. But still, I think that this AI is going to impact the industry in a big way because some students they might who traditionally go or normal schooling go for private tuition. Now, some of these students may think that private tuition and formal schooling is not good enough for them, and so they will actually allocate more time devoting themselves to education through AI as well. So if that is the case, right, do you think that this AI assistant or AI education software is going to eat into the tuition business?
No, I don't think that the pie is gonna get smaller. In fact, I think that the pie is gonna get bigger because, first of all, we have three components to it right now, right? For the education sector, we have the formal schooling. Then the second point is private tuition, and the third point is software. So I think that moving forward, children will still be going for their formal schooling because it, it has many other aspects of education that cannot be taught through AI, like teamwork, project work, collaboration, communication skill, and so on. And you can only learn about these by communicating with your classmates. Then second point is private tuition. I believe that you will still go on. People who can afford it will still continue to go for private tuition. And the third one is software. We already have software, and tuitions from the first and second group, they continue to buy this software on top of what they're having. So I think that when AI comes, it's not going to replace the educators, but it's going to increase the market share. Those in the first two group, those that go for formal schooling and those who go for private tuition, they will also buy the AI software in order to augment, in order to support their learning.
Actually, now that you talk about this, right, I think that it really makes a lot of sense because before AI didn't come, right, we already have education software. And for those who can afford it, let's say those who go for their formal schooling, so that's the most basic form of schooling. And in fact, for some, it's the cheapest form of schooling. So if you can afford it, then you will still continue to go for the formal schooling. So if you cannot afford it, then the best that you can do is just to go for your formal schooling. You cannot go for private tuition and cannot buy a AI software. Then if you can afford, you're well off enough to afford all three groups, formal schooling, private tuition, and the AI software, then okay lah, that is good for that student. But how about in the case whereby the school does not have enough students, does not have enough teachers to teach, so that they transform themselves, the entire business model, to use AI to teach instead. Then maybe they can have some facilitator to facilitate some project work, reduce the number of staff, then rely more on AI. What do you think of this model?
Well, I think that it's possible that this business model can exist in the near future, because of the way things are going right now. And if you think about it, in order to set up a business, right? In order to set up a successful business, you basically have to go through three types of methods. One is you got to price your goods or services cheaper than other people, and that is one of the selling point. The second model is to make the quality better so that people will choose your goods instead of your competitors. Then the third one is to have a differentiated product. So what you're mentioning right now is actually belongs to that of the third group, that is to have a differentiated business model, because we don't know yet whether or not AI solution is going to deliver better teachings than the educators, right? But we do know that it is a differentiated product because AI teaching is very different from the way teachers teach. Because the way teacher teach is very responsive. They respond to the classes emotions, they respond to their replies, and they react accordingly. So it is a very emotive process that is very different from what AI is offering. So I think that this model is actually quite possible, and this could be a new kind of school in the future.
So if you say that this is a new kind of school in the future, then do you think that this kind of school will win the traditional school and eventually take over the traditional school?
I can't say whether the new AI school is going to take over the traditional school because it's very difficult to predict this kind of thing. And what is going to determine whether or not AI school is going to take over traditional school is that it really depends on the students that come out from both systems. And if the students that come out from the AI school performs better than the student who come out from the traditional school, then it means that the AI model is performing much better than the traditional school. And if that's the case, right, it is going to shift the business sentiment. It is going to shift the sentiments of the students and in and affect how the parents and the student chooses their schools. And that is how I look at it. You got to look at the outcome of the schools and not at the process.
Actually, now research on it, I think that is quite right. And that you have to look at the process, not really at how you got to look at outcome, not look at the process. You have to look at the outcome and not just look at the process. Doesn't mean that it is AI means that it is a better solution because the traditional school maybe they will still continue to produce a lot of good students. We may not know about it. And AI, even though it is very efficient, it is very, very cost effective, but still they may not produce students that that may deliver a better outcome than the traditional schooling system. So it's very hard to predict. But apart from this, I also want to know how come what do you think about the tuition business? How come tuition business finds it very difficult to get more students now. What exactly is happening? Like is this AI impacting the tuition industry as well? Because private industry is just a follow-on to formal education, right? But why is the tuition business especially affected right now? What are some of your thoughts about this?
AI definitely has some impact on the education business in general, and that includes both the formal education and private tuition as well. But you must understand that the business model underlying these two type of education business is very different. For formal education, mostly you have school compound that is paid up using a different kind of debt instrument. Then for tuition business, it's usually started by a startup founder. So they usually rent their premises, and they usually are at the mercy of the landlord. So it's very different ball game when you're comparing a private tuition to a formal education business.
What you're implying is that this private tuition business is very different from formal education, and AI is impacting both formal education and private tuition. So both are the same now. Then the you say the business model is different, and then it boils down to the real estate, correct? So what is it about this real estate? Can you elaborate more about?
Yeah, but real estate isn't really the explanation for why students are decreasing at the moment right now. And I believe that students are decreasing right now is due to inflation. And because of inflation, parents aren't able to afford tuition anymore. So, what they do is they rely on traditional schooling to educate their children, or they educate their children by themselves. And on top of this, we have real estate. So real estate is going to hit private tuition business hard in the midterm. And I predict that a lot of private tuition business is are going to close down by 2025. Then on top of that, beyond 2025, we have pandemics. So these pandemics, these oncoming waves of pandemics is going to affect tuition business, and it's going to cause even more tuition business to close down.
Okay, so there are several points that you have brought up. One is inflation. So parents' salaries are affected, so they cannot send the children for tuition anymore. And because of this, they have to stop their private tuition. Then the second point is also inflation, but this time it's related to real estate. And because real estate, the prices of real estate is increasing, so a lot of private tuition, they cannot afford the rental, so they have to close down. Then the third point is a pandemic. So you say the pandemic is going to hit again. So if a pandemic hits again, then it will cause even more private tuition to close down. So I think we have to discuss these 3 points in detail. So the first point is parent salary and inflation. So can you like elaborate more about this? What are you thinking of this, and maybe how can how can um how can people help with this?
It's actually very difficult to help with issues that are related to inflation. You can try to bring the prices of the goods and service down, but you can only bring it down to certain extent, because eventually, like let's say for the private tutor, he or she can try to bring the price point of his or her services down to a certain point, but at that certain point, right, you must consider that the private tuition teacher also has to leave. He or she also has to survive, so they have to charge a certain price. Then what parents can do is that, well, they have to change job if they have to, in order to afford, in order to have the type of salary, in order to afford the children's tuition. Then on top of that, what they can do is that they can work multiple jobs. So that is one way of trying to send their children for extra tuition. Then the third one is they try to educate the students, their children by themselves. So that's the third way that I see that parents can try to help out their children in their education.
In fact, if the parent is trying to educate their children by themselves, and they are also looking for a new job, they are looking for a side hustle, then they can also list them. This means that they can try to list their courses on tuition yearly platform, which will then enable them to teach and earn at the same time. So I think it's a double win. So this is something that parents can take note of, and they can make use of our platform in order to educate and also to earn at the same time. So the other 2 points is inflation affecting real estate, causing the price to rise, and in the end, causing the tenant unable to afford the rental. And this is one of the reasons why private tuition businesses will close down. Then on top of that, you also talk about pandemics. So it will also cause a lot of private tuition business to close down as well. So can you elaborate and share more about your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so the prices of real estate is going to continue to rise, and traditionally this private tuition business, they rely on real estate in order to expand their business. So how they go about doing it is that they rent in a particular location, and they will begin to serve the location student, and by doing so they acquire more customers in the process, and they do this multiple times in different locations in order to grow their business. So this traditional way of doing business is going to kill a lot of private tuition business in 2025, because by then the property prices is going to rise, and it's going to rise even more, and it's going to affect a lot of private tuition business. And now a lot of private tuition business, they have revert to using this kind of method as their expansion strategy. So therefore, when the pandemic hits, it's going to impact a lot of this private tuition once again. So a lot of them are going to be wiped out. And think about it, this pandemic is going to come. Now recently we have this mpox, and it's like growing really rapidly in Africa right now. So it's going to spread all around the world. And if it does, a lot of this private tuition are going to be affected.
Okay, so that's all the time that we have for today, and I think that we had a very fruitful discussion regarding private tuition in general, about education in general, but we also touch on private tuition. So we talk about how AI is going to impact the education industry. Then we talk about how is it going to change the education in the traditional setting. Then we also talk about how AI is not going to make the pie smaller. In fact, it's going to make the pie bigger. Then we also talk about um, this real estate inflation affecting parents' salary so that they are unable to afford tuition for their children. Then we also talk about inflation affecting real estate, and it's going to kill off a lot of businesses. Then we also talk about pandemics. So pandemic is going to hit and it's going to kill off a lot of private tuition businesses as well. So one way to overcome all this is to use our tuition learning at tech platform in order to hedge against all this risk, and our platform is designed to help you to overcome all these challenges and proliferate and grow your business. So thank you all for listening. Thank you and see you at the next episode.
Tuition Near Me, your number one portal for everything that is related to education. See you at Tuition Near Me.